Making my first manga. I dropped my first finished manga chapter on February 1st, 2024. The manga is called Battle of the Fittest. Was it hard? Not particularly, but it was time consuming. It took me 6 months to complete 20 pages. That's half a year. This manga wasn't going to take over my life, so I worked on it when I could, but the goal was to finish it because I've never finished making a manga before. I have so many drafts and roughs that'll never see the light of day. So for me, this first manga was a challenge to complete something and to practice. I used this story and the characters as vessel for me to walk before I could run. As of right now, I'm working on chapter 3 and the time lapse is the cover art for it. I definitely feel more comfortable going into the next chapters, and that's because I had the hardships of learning my workflow with chapter 1. I'm going to break down my journey into 8 guidelines, starting with inspiration and conceptualization. No surprise, but I enjoy battle mangas, so it was a bit of a no-brainer. When I came up with Battle of the Fittest, I was working on a manga that was a lot more story-based, but it kept growing and the scale became a little too overwhelming. So I kept it simple with a battle manga instead, but specifically a battle manga that had no filler. I absolutely hate when they cut to characters' reactions or when they re-explain what I just watched. I ain't dumb, you don't have to retell me what I just saw, I have eyes. This isn't to say my manga doesn't have a story, it's just sprinkled into the fights. Keeping the manga to a limited idea and characters was gonna help me practice and not get overwhelmed. This manga is pretty organic. I'm coming up with a premise and the backstory on the fly, so you're literally on the ride with me as I figure it out. It started off as a battle between rivals, and by chapter 2 it's already taken a bit of a turn, and by 3 it's gonna be even crazier. Character development. We got Thais and Achel on the surface. With chapter 1, it seems like they ain't got no type of character development at all. Because it's an all-out brawl. But if you can read the facial expressions and how they move, you can extract how they carry themselves. I made a video about this called Designing Original Characters for a Manga. In it, I explain how these two are opposites of each other and how you can see this throughout chapter 1. I took care to tell you the story without telling you the story. I enjoy the show don't tell method, so if you like that, you'll enjoy my works. Art style and design. The art style is overall very simple. Simple designs make for easier and quicker drawing time. There's a reason why in animation we tend to keep characters shape oriented and simple. It's because you have to draw them hundreds of times. Comics and mangas are the same way. Less complex designs means you can draw the character and the subject over and over and over again without burning out. Another big design aspect of the characters were the hair. Achel has a very distinct hairstyle. That means when I draw him small or next to Thais, you'll always be able to pick him out. Creating these iconic shapes that are distinguishable will help the reader identify who and what is in your panel. I've drawn for years, so one of the aspects of the manga that I wasn't worried about was the art style and the overall look. Writing and dialogue, which is almost non-existent since I went for a show don't tell method. The dialogue exchanges are far and few between, but when it comes to composing the panels, I wanted it to be very rhythmic, quick, and abrupt. I composed the fights as if they were dances where there's a lot of action and then moments of rest before the action continues. This is how I wanted them to speak to each other. These moments of rests are usually when characters might throw out some exposition or talk to themselves. I wanted you to just visually see the struggle and intensity of how they felt instead. I also storyboard before I script. I find it easier to let my ideas flow on the page and not have the script limit my direction. I'll eventually get deep enough into the manga before I stop and start scripting to add extra foundational things or beats I wanted to have or think I missed. It's a little backwards from the standard traditional way, which is scripting and then storyboarding, but I say do what works for you. Challenges and obstacles. The biggest challenge was time. And for it being my first manga, I had to figure out all the logistics. What kind of canvas sizes, find templates with proper guides, find the best way to make panels, get familiar with drawing speed lines, learn when, where, and how to apply screen tones, which in themselves can be a whole nother level of adding rendering. There's just a lot of these small things about the process I don't think I totally enjoy, because when I have to stop drawing I feel unmotivated, but again, it's a part of the process, like it or not. But knowing these made chapter 2 a breeze. It was well worth going through the hurdles of figuring it out. Milestones and achievements. So in one of my more recent videos about saving time while making manga, I showed off a list of 7 steps I went through making chapter 1. These 7 things are what I'd say are the fundamental milestones you might need to hit when you're completing a chapter. Having these set steps will keep you accountable and make it easier to see the progress you're making through your journey. It definitely made me excited to see the check marks being ticked. Reflection and future plans. I'm all about practice makes better. I think this was an amazing step towards learning the medium of manga and comics. You know that saying, it's about the journey and not the destination? In this case, it was both. The journey was fun, but the end result was equally as gratifying. To see it come to life, it made me want to create more. This is that type of feeling I think everyone is trying to attain. But this wouldn't be an artistic adventure if we didn't self-critique and set some bigger goals to strive for. At the end of chapter 1, I wrote down 3 aspects I wanted to improve on for the next chapters. Those being more dynamic framing, foreshortening, poses, angles, doing a 2-page spread, playing with different paneling, use contrast in backgrounds, midground, and foreground to guide the eyes. Getting started and finishing chapter 1 were only the first steps. Now we'll try to get even better as the chapters come out. So with that, I'm working on chapter 3 and 4 back to back. No definitive release date, but hopefully in the next 2 or 3 months. For anyone who hasn't checked out chapters 1 and 2, they're free. Links are in the description and bio. If you enjoyed this manga overview, you'll already know what to do. That's enough of me yapping. See you on the next one.